we wrap this whole thing up, I want us to go into. We have a few Star Wars news to go over. We got a lot that came out. Let's start with the biggest one. The biggest news is we are getting. Why did I just forget his name?
Tamara Morrison.
No. The actual character.
Oh, Jango Fett.
Jango Fett. There we go. I don't know why.
Yeah, his actor's name is Tamara Morrison.
Okay.
He's every character that looks like Jango Fett and Jango Fett.
Yeah, he's every clone.
He's all the clones.
Yeah.
So you can say Boba Fett, you can say Rex, you can say you're right on all of them.
You could use him for literally everything.
I will say this though, Joel. I loved your point. I kind of don't want to see it because they are like the same actor, but I loved your point of possibly seeing Old Man Rex.
I hope so.
In the Mandalorian at some point. Like, it doesn't have to be this season. But, I mean, why not bring in Old Man Rex? And, it could be he's a farmer somewhere, and the Mandalorian comes in contact with him.
Well, the only reason I thought of that was because Dave Filoni had that picture up of Ahsoka on this whatever animal with Rex behind her. So I thought they were together still. Like,
I mean, they
were
could be
together. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if her and Rex show up in The Mandalorian. Then we find out that, Boba Fett is going to be in it. So, I'm like, all right.
And I will say to a lot of people, a lot of our viewers that will watch this, that are like, oh, man, I thought Fett was dead. I thought he died in the pit. No. Let me just say this. Filoni said in an interview last year during the premiere of The Mandalorian, he said, because someone had asked him about it, like, is there any chance we could see a Fett come back? And he's like, listen, you never know. It's Star Wars. But he said, when it comes to me, I'm the guy that brought Maul back from death. So when it comes to me, it's always
possible very good point.
That I could bring somebody back from the dead. So he said, if you think he's dead, it doesn't matter to me. Look what I did to Maul. Maul was like an essential part of this entire series once he brought him back, which is a very ballsy move. No one was expecting it when he brought him back. So, to me, I think this is perfect for numerous reasons. One, I think a lot of Mandalorians don't like the Fetts for kind of stealing their crest, their armor and their crest. So they would have a few bones to pick with them, and I'm sure Mando has heard plenty of stories about these two guys. So to see him in the same, almost the same armor Mando has, will be very cool to see.
Was that basically who they were teasing in the first season then?
I think you can make a case it's who they were teasing, albeit I don't know how far out Filoni's involvement was. So I don't know. I don't know if Fett was a Favreau move or a Filoni move.
Well, they're working together, so.
Well, he said he only did one episode. He said he only did one episode.
No, I'm saying, but they work together. Like, they're on the ranch together. I saw them cooking together the other day, like on the chef show. So it's not like we directed and went home. And they never.
No, that's true. They're even starting to look the same. You're like, you guys should probably stop hanging out as much as you do. But no, I mean, you could make a great case, Joel, that it was being teed up for us to see him at some point. I'm curious what he's been doing this whole entire time. And I am also curious because I know a lot of people are assuming, even though they said we're getting him in a small dose, a lot of people are assuming it'll be on site when they see each other. I kind of reserve that to be maybe it's something that Fett helps Mando with. And it sets up something bigger for maybe another season or down the road.
Does he ever take off his helmet? Does it really, like, Boba Fett ever took off his helmet? Are we going to see him without his helmet on?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Why? He's just talking randomly with his helmet off.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think it's best to show him without his helmet because you're already confusing people of having them think the Fetts are Mandalorian. They're not. So for him to abide by a creed that he's not born into would be a little confusing. So to have him take off his helmet would be a good way to finally, once and for all, get people to understand the Fetts are not Mandalorians. They just happen to look like them. That's it.
They just stole their armor.
So I mean, Dakota, I'll start with you.
It's a weird background.
It being a small cameo, how do you kind of see it playing out? An enemy or a friend?
I just see it more as like a background thing happening. Like maybe you see him walk across the screen, or maybe in passing he says something to Mando. I don't think it'll be anything huge.
So you could see it being like a bar scene, to where Mando goes into like a bar and
Fett's drinking there or something.
Yeah, but see, if it's something like that, I would have preferred Joel's take on Rex. Yeah. Because if you're gonna introduce Fett, I'd rather it be something. And I'm not saying that it's not something cool, because obviously we have no idea. They haven't even filmed anything. But to me,
we don't know that they finished season 2.
They did?
Yeah.
Because Rosario said it's not even official that she's Ahsoka.
She's a liar.
Oh, okay. All right. So then we're getting it next year. I didn't know that they
finished season 2 a couple months ago. But it comes out this fall. Yeah.
I did not know that. I thought they had to stop before they finished.
No, they've been done.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then that's even better. Then I apologize for 2 episodes ago.
That means
they didn't finish.
Somebody obviously lying. Well, they can't be. They just can't announce it yet. I think they were like saving a lot of this for celebration and shit like that. So it's a lot of it's just coming out now. Like this whole Boba Fett news. It's been over a month or so that some of the insiders already knew about that. It's like, well, I didn't know about that. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Then I didn't know it finished. I thought because of coronavirus they weren't able to finish everything.
Coronavirus.
So I'm shocked. Okay. Well, then I'm looking forward to this fall then, more than I was 2 weeks ago.
Previously.
Yeah. So how do you see it how do you see it playing out, Joel?
Well, I didn't know about the whole small part. So maybe it's just a continuation of the tease from the first season, if it is him. And it's just like now you actually see who it is, whereas the first season was like a shadow. I forget, it's been a while. But so I guess in this season you actually see who it is. And considering Boba Fett's past, I wouldn't be surprised if he's working for like whatever the Empire is now, or like whatever his name is, Grand Moff, whatever the fuck. So
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon, there you go. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's working for them in some capacity to hunt down the Mandalorian or something. So maybe that's like one of those. Maybe they don't have a confrontation this season, and maybe they save that for like season 3 or whatever the fuck it is. And like the bulk. Go ahead.
I like that you're saying that, because now I could see his cameo being an end credit scene for the last episode. To where if they couldn't get Mando this season, we see him say, "I think we have someone that could stop him," and then you see Fett walk in, and then it ends with Fett accepting the job of taking down the Mandalorian. Ooh. Yeah, I'm like, I would get chills if that's how we see him. And then season 3, it's like, it's Mando versus Fett, baby. I would love that. Mm-hmm. That would be a great visual. It'd be a great setup. You could even bring into season 2 setting up the new Mandalore, where we saw anyone that survived, where they went. Because I would love that. I would love Mando to have a base to go to. To where he can kind of feel at home, and it's wherever this new Mandalore is. So hopefully we get something along those lines. And I mean, I'm just really curious how they set up Ahsoka. Like, that's the biggest thing I'm concerned about. Like, as soon as they mention Ahsoka, I'm like, all right, forget season 2 as a whole. How do you set up Ahsoka? Like, how do you set up a Jedi in a world right now that thinks
former Jedi?
The child's a Force user, so maybe Ahsoka will be looking for the child.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I would really
that
like
would be that. That would explain something, right?
Or it could be to elaborate on what you're saying, Dakota. Maybe where Mando's taking him is where Ahsoka is.
Yeah.
So that's an easier setup. But I love how Dave Filoni's like, I only directed 1 episode this season. I didn't really have anything to do with the other ones. It's like, Dave, we get it. Your episode is the Ahsoka episode. We understand it. It's fine.
Basically.
We know you directed your child in the 1 episode of The Mandalorian. You don't have to explain any further. We get it. But no, I mean, I'm really excited. I'm even more excited. Thank you, Joel. So now I have to make sure we apply for screeners for it. For The Mandalorian season 2. But I'm really excited for it. We got some more Star Wars news, didn't we, Dakota? I feel like we got some more Star Wars news.
Not that I can think of.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I remember it now. Joel, what's your game with Redhead that you just
Fallen
beat?
Order? Jedi Fallen Order?
We are getting Fallen Order is one cog in a very big wheel of the story.
Yeah, it's one and an
the
entirely
beginning.
new franchise, which is dope because I've just played Fallen Order. I just played the New Journey Plus, which means I played the entire thing in the Inquisitor outfit because I mean,
oh really?
Obviously, I'm not going to. Obviously, I'm going to. Which really makes that opening scene on Bogano so much better because he's just like, I think I'm looking for a Jedi as an Imperial Inquisitor. It's dope.
So I mean, I'm really excited about this because I want to see more Force users. I want to see more Inquisitors. I want to see more battles of him and Vader, or more battles of Vader and whoever else your Jedi are. I also want to make this known. I would love a game that's about a trooper, whether it's a trooper for the they're not the Republic. What do you call them now? They're the no, the Jedi side. What do you call the Jedi side now? They're not the Republic anymore.
The Resistance.
The Resistance. Thank you. Resistance. I would like to see a game about them that plays almost similar, but you're taking out obviously clones and not Inquisitors or Stormtroopers rather. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this world. How many games Fallen Order spans. And then how many games span from Fallen Order. It had easily, Joel, and I want to thank you for putting me on the Fallen Order. It had easily one of the greatest stories that Star Wars has going right now. It was such a good story. Playability was awesome. Everything about that game was great. I know I freaked out, Joel, when I found out you could go from a dual lightsaber to just one. When I hit that button by mistake, I was like, "What just happened? What just happened?" I never played with one lightsaber again once I found that button. But no, Joel, I ask you, how excited are you about a universe that spans from Fallen Order?
I'm very excited. I love the first game. I finished it like maybe a couple months ago, but I really, really dug it. I love the gameplay. I love the characters in it, and the way it ends left it open. So it's just one of those things where it's kind of like, what's next? Well, we got to go find those whatever. So I'm very curious how it plays out from there, and who else he runs into. Because this is now you're in a world that's like post Revenge of the Sith, but obviously before New Hope. So this is a world that includes possibly a Han Solo, what Ahsoka Tano's out there, Darth Maul, like the syndicates are out there. So it's like there's a big world in between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope. Obviously the Rebels, which takes place like 5 years before New Hope, but at least in the beginning until like the very end. So there's like this big hole there where they get to play with, and I'd be very interested to see who else they connect with. Like in the first game, you run into what's his name? Oh my God, Mr. Poodle from I can't remember his name. Forrest Whitaker's character.
Yeah, Saul Guerrero.
Saul Guerrero, yeah, you run into Saul Guerrero in the first game. So I want to run into other characters. It'd be really fun to do that.
I mean, me and you, Joel, we talked about it all the time, how Star Wars, the people behind Star Wars should start adapting to timelines that aren't restricted by something we've seen before. So it gives you all the freedom. Right. That was what we said we loved about The Mandalorian. You're in a time frame to where you can play with anything because it's right before something and right after something. So all that gray area, you can just play with. So the Fallen Order works in exactly that. It has so much gray area to play around with. Dakota, how do you feel about this being a universe builder, and how do you like these games, these movies, these shows starting to adapt a timeline where there's a lot of gray area? So it's not like, well, you have to stick to this because this is supposed to happen. You just go free.
I'm excited, man. I just it's going to be great to see. I hope they don't just stick to the Jedi thing. Like, I don't know. Give me an Inquisitor game where I can be an Inquisitor and I'm tasked with hunting down people. I mean,
That
like
guy game.
you gotta embrace everything.
Yeah,
Or give me a game where you could be a Death Star gunner and you have to make the decision to blow up the planet Oberon.
yeah, or just
Or
take it,
smuggler.
or a smuggler. Yeah, man, a smuggler. Or take it back to where I could just use the ships. Where it's a fight with just the ships. I mean, I would love that. And I would love to just be an AT-AT. Are you serious? That's the one thing we've never really been able to play as. I would love to be an AT-AT.
Jedi Fallen Order did that amazing.
Yeah,
They made
you can play with the AT
so dope.
Why don't I remember that? I don't
It was
remember
like
that.
one. That's when you first run into Saw Gerrera because you like hijacked the AT-AT. And like,
Oh, jeez. I got to replay that then. I don't remember that at all. But yeah, no, I mean, I want them to really explore, and you're right, Dakota. I do want to play as an Inquisitor. I'll be highly disappointed if this whole series ends and we couldn't play as an Inquisitor once.
Yeah.
They're just too dope. Those lightsabers alone are so dope.
Just spend the entire time flying around on your double-bladed lightsaber.
Exactly. But yeah, no, this is great news, and us fans of these Star Wars games can't wait to see what they do next. I kind of feel like you adapting these characters kind of letting me know that you won't ever make Starkiller canon again. This is Starkiller's timeline, so I'm like, if you're not gonna add him in at some point soon, we're just never getting Starkiller again.
He's busy being Maul now.
No, but he's done being Maul now, so come back and be
Starkiller.
Starkiller.
The whole world now, you know. Maul has that whole gray area you're talking about. He's alive through all of that.
I hate it. But I think that's all the big Star Wars news that we have. I don't think we got anything else really. So before we end this, Joel, I do want to get your thoughts. We talked about it last week. How do you feel about how Disney's been handling Star Wars since they acquired the rights to the franchise?
I mean, we talked about it the other day. I said, I mean, it's hit or miss, but for me, it's been mostly hits. I've been a fan of a lot of what they've done, like with the games now and the movie. I know a lot of people bitching about the movies, but I don't really have the same anger towards movies as everyone else. So I've enjoyed the movies, enjoyed the animated series. They brought Clone Wars back. Rebels was great. The comic books are fucking canon if you read them. So I mean, it's all pretty cool. Yeah, they're pretty cool. So like I've really enjoyed their time in Disney, and I know a lot of people haven't, but like I went there recently to Disney World, and I visited the Galaxy's Edge, and I loved it. It was really good. It should be bigger.
$500 building lightsabers.
Son, that's just the minimum. As soon as you walk in that park, they drain your money. Yeah, that park is expensive. I would say go with money. So especially once you get to Galaxy's Edge, like as soon as you go into the store and you see like the robes, which are like $100 for a fucking robe. You want to build your own lightsabers.
Do they have Sith robes?
They have Sith robes. They have Sith lightsabers. Yep. They got everything, bro. You can come out looking like a fucking Jedi if you want.
Excellent.
It's true. And you can buy your own fucking droid. Make your own droid and then ride that bitch out if you want.
I would take that. I will say, Joel, the biggest thing we came to the agreement of is I don't fault Kathleen Kennedy for any of some of the bad things we might have thought have come from Star Wars. But I did point out I see Kathleen Kennedy as a money person. So if you would keep her as the money person, so she can make sure that these movies are always box office hits, and you bring in a Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni to be the Feige of that universe, it will be unstoppable.
It would be better.
She is brilliant money-wise. Think about this, Joel. Solo came out in between Spider-Man and Deadpool and still made more money than we thought it was going to make. So I'm like, that's the Kathleen. That's her. It was good. No, it was good. It was good. I'm just saying.
I like Solo. I know a lot of people didn't, but I like Solo.
I did like it. I went in with a very open mind, and I was pleasantly surprised on how good I thought that was. But if Kathleen Kennedy stays the money person and brings on Dave Filoni to handle movie making, it'll be unstoppable.
I think her biggest miss was with movies. She kind of, because she wanted a different director for each movie at first, I think it's and then they didn't have a cohesive storyline throughout. I think that's really where it fucked up in it. Like because there was such a difference in every movie, in at least to start, and that's why I kind of feel like it went where it went because there was no cohesive storyline going. Like there's no see through. Where I think George Lucas had everything written out for like all three movies both times. Even if the prequels weren't great, the story was at least coherent because he had an idea of where he was trying to go. Whereas these movies, I don't know if they had the same idea going forward throughout. And I think that's probably what her biggest miss was that. It probably should have had one cohesive story for three movies and had the directors direct the stories that were written. You know what I mean?
The biggest thing I would say for Kathleen is I think she loves Star Wars. I just don't think she's all knowledgeable in
No, she's
in
not.
Star Wars. So I would compare it to this. I love DC, but every day I talk to Joel, I learn something new. So obviously I'm not as knowledgeable in it as I would like to be. So you would never have me create a DC universe. So I look at her and I go, you love it, but you just don't have all the knowledge. So allow someone that does, as in a Dave Filoni, to be the guy to come in and tell you, hey, this trilogy shouldn't have three different heads. Like it should have one head. Or if it does have three different heads, they should always be in a room together. For each movie, all three of them get in the room and they're like, hey, this is beginning, middle, and end. And that's clearly what that trilogy lacked. Because we were saying this before, Dakota could speak to this. We were saying how Last Jedi and Skywalker definitely felt like it was separating from each other. Joel, I was saying how something as simple as Abrams introduced Phasma, Ryan completely threw her to the wolves. Ryan introduced Kelly Marie Tran's character, Abrams completely threw her to the wolves. So you clearly weren't all on the same path because Abrams wanted Phasma to be more, and Ryan wanted Kelly Marie Tran's character to be more, and both the directors did pish posh with both of them.
That's not my character.
right. Exactly.
I don't know who that is.
So more cohesion was definitely needed. Yeah. So that's where
she brought in directors to write and direct, where she kind of should have just had a story and had the directors direct.
There you go. Exactly. Because Rian Johnson said, no, I don't know what he was doing. It's not what I'm doing. But I think we can agree, Joel, Kathleen Kennedy gets way too much criticism. I think she's really good at what she does, which is handling the money side of Star Wars. And she signed off on a lot. She easily could have said no to Star Wars: The Clone Wars finishing. She could have said, no, we don't need it because we can't merchandise it. And she said, yeah, go ahead, finish it up. So I give a lot of praise to Kathleen, but she does need a Feige-esque guy to run the everyday things of storytelling, and she needs to make that guy Filoni. He needs that.
Filoni should definitely be the next in charge.
100%.
Especially creative direction.
Yeah, I mean, just purely off of creative direction, like you just said, to where he's setting up everything, to where it's like, this is what we want to tell Dave, set the table. He'll do it. Kathleen handles the money. We're good.
Right. Super producer throughout all the movies.
Exactly. But all right, guys, that's all we got for you guys today on our 2 editions of Star Wars Saturday. I split the videos just in case you guys didn't realize. Thank you guys for joining us for an all-new episode of Star Wars Saturday. Thank you, Joel, for joining the council this week. Hopefully we see you again at some point. And Dakota, as always, and huge shout out to you, Dakota, for joining us last night for game night.
I did what I can.
You were awesome, man. You were awesome. A lot of those fan casts were super dope, man. So thank you for joining us. But until next time, guys, may the force be with you.
Always.